Hey guys, Saruni here, and as you read the title, this is the Huawei P20 Lite review. Let's get started. Alright, so let's talk about that display. As you all know, this display comes with a notch, and whether that is a good thing or a bad thing depends entirely on you. Personally, I got used to the notch and I ended up loving it. I love the extra real estate and just the way that it looks. It's a beauty. It's a beautiful thing to look at. And this is thanks to the fact that Huawei actually borrowed the design from the iPhone 10. And a lot of people will notice this. It's not the first time that I've been asked in public transport or even when I'm walking down the streets whether what I am using is the iPhone 10. And you actually have to see people's disappointment when you correct them and let them know that no, you're actually using a Huawei device. But again, like I said, whether that is a good thing or a bad thing is entirely up to you. I personally love the design. I love the front especially. That display just looks beautiful. And now still on that display, it actually gets really bright out in daylight, so that is a plus because you wouldn't have to struggle when you're trying to read the text on your phone. And secondly, in low light it gets really dim, like extremely dim, to the point of you might not actually see the display itself, which again is good for when you are using the device in darkness. So kudos to Huawei for that. The display itself is a full HD 1080p panel, and it's an LCD panel, but it looks very beautiful. It has really good viewing angles and the colors are marvelous. Like, this display is one of the best assets of this phone. But something that complements that display is the build quality. So the phone is sandwiched, it's glass sandwiched with a metal frame, which feels very premium, by the way. For this price, this phone is absolutely premium in its build quality. And something else that also adds to that iPhone 10 fiasco copycat thing is the design of the camera lenses on the back. These lenses have actually been placed just as you see it on the iPhone 10. Aside from the fact that the camera flash has been placed underneath the lenses, unlike the iPhone 10 which is in the middle. But it looks good. I love how it looks. Like, this phone is beautiful. It's in black and it's still beautiful. I love black phones. Sometimes I decide to go with colorful phones, but with this phone I don't regret getting it in black. It looks marvelous. And also on that back we have the fingerprint scanner. So this fingerprint scanner is one of the fastest that I've seen, and Huawei has become known for this. They make really good fingerprint scanners and they are well reliable. But on top of that fingerprint scanner, they've also added face unlock. So this means that you can easily unlock the device just by pointing it to your face. So if I'm holding the device to my face and I actually hit the unlock button, it instantly unlocks. And it's so fast that you are marveled every time that you unlock the device. It's like so fast, and it unlocks even at very weird angles. And this is thanks to the fact that it's only using the front facing camera, so there's no 3D depth sensing sensors underneath such tech to make it more secure, but it's actually a reliable way to unlock your phone fast. And it doesn't work in the dark, but you have that fingerprint scanner on the back, so you can always fall back to that whenever the face unlock actually fails you. Something that I did not like about the fingerprint scanner is that it does not have fingerprint gestures. So this means that I cannot actually drop down the notification shade with just a slide on the fingerprint scanner, and I don't know why Huawei didn't include this, which is actually very weird. So maybe a software update to fix that. Anyway, let's move on, and now we talk about those cameras. So the number one reason you'd be buying this phone is not for the notch, but actually for the cameras on the back. So this phone has a 16 megapixel lens complemented by a 2 megapixel lens on the back. And on the front we have a 16 megapixel selfie shooter. So let's talk about those main dual cameras on the back. So this 2 megapixel lens, I know you might be wondering why a 2 megapixel lens. It's only for depth sensing, so it's not Leica branded. Like, there's no Leica branding on this phone. It's purely Huawei magic going on. So The second lens is only for depth sensing, like that's the only purpose it serves. So there's no monochrome, there's no 2x or 3x zoom. I would have preferred if we had a 2x zoom lens, or at least a wide angle lens, or even I would gladly take the monochrome lens than a 2 megapixel just for depth sensing. But Huawei knows what they were doing. So the 16 megapixel lens itself takes really good shots. Like they're very colorful, they're very pronounced, their colors are more accurate than you have seen in phones at this price range, and I have little to complain. Like literally, this phone was made for Instagram lovers. Those of you who like sharing photos on social media, this phone is going to serve you really well. And also the second lens actually does a good job at trying to create that bokeh effect. So it's really some sort of software bokeh, because it just tries to sense the depth and then gives a software bokeh on the picture itself, and the outcome is good, still beautiful. Again, it will get you some really good number of likes on social media. And speaking of social media, ensure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at TechWiz, and personally at Aiden Saruni. And now moving on to the front camera. So this front camera is a marvel. Like seriously, the 16 megapixel lens is beautiful. Like the pictures it produces, the selfies it gives, they are beautiful. Even in low light it performs really well, just as the main cameras do. So I actually love the camera performance of this device. It's absolutely beautiful, and if you are looking to buy this device for its cameras, yes, I actually recommend it. Just go ahead and you will not regret it. There are a few minor things here and there you might not like some shots, you might like others, but it's actually really nice, and I love it. Literally, that's all I can say. I love it. And the portrait mode is wanting. Let me just mention that, because I have pre-release software running on my device, and the portrait mode on the front lens is a bit wanting. Like you don't get exactly beautiful looking portrait modes because this is software induced. But I'm guessing that Huawei, when you're buying the retail unit, that you'll actually get the finished software. So apart from that, we are going to move on and talk about the performance. The device comes with 64 GB internal memory coupled up with 4 GB RAM and a Kirin 659 processor. Let me just tell you what all this means for those of you who don't know about processors, RAM and internal storage. So the combination of such performance power means that this device hardly feels anything that you throw at it. Games, social media apps, Facebook, you know, the likes of those, this phone performs really well. Like the software itself is built well. It's actually Android 8.0 Oreo with EMUI 8.0 on top, and EMUI actually brings a lot of changes to Huawei that also help the device perform really well. The number one notable change is that now we actually have an app drawer. So like literally at the top of a button you can actually get to your app drawer, but from the settings you can remove that if you prefer to have the iOS style kind of things. But personally, I like having my app drawer, so I have it there. And Huawei software is actually, it's also polarizing, just as the design of this phone is. But there's one thing that I have to mention that I really loved, is the long screenshots. Like the long screenshots on this device are lovely. You just take one screenshot and it scrolls to infinity until you tell it to stop, and the result is this very long screenshot that looks really good, especially if you're trying to show someone something, maybe an article you want to share and don't feel like sharing the link. And yeah, so those are the kind of useful things that you get. And personally, I don't hate EMUI. This is the first time that I've actually not slapped Nova Launcher on top immediately, and this is thanks to some of you complaining that I'm overusing Nova Launcher. Is there anything like that really? Well, okay, so this device comes with a 3000 mAh battery to keep everything juiced up, and to power it is a USB-C port that delivers fast charging. Like literally in 30 minutes you can have this device from 0 to around 80%, which is absolutely bonkers. I love that you can fast charge this device. I actually never worry about maybe leaving the house when the battery is low, or sleeping without putting it in the charger, because I'll just wake up, charge the phone, and I'm good to go, which is good. And also on battery life, the device lasts like throughout the day. The 3000 mAh battery is actually very sufficient. There's some magic that the Kirin processor does at the way it handles apps and background processes. So the 3000 mAh battery can last you well throughout the day. Like for example, if I start my day at 7 a.m, it will last throughout all the way to 11 p.m. I will sleep and wake up with the battery at around 18-15%, and that's when I will charge it with fast charging and then leave the house again, which is really good. But roses don't lack thorns, and there are few things about the Huawei P20 Lite that I did not like. So the number one thing is that we don't have dual speakers, and I know this might sound like nitpicking, but honestly I would expect Huawei to at least implement dual speakers on the phone. Like we've seen it, like, oh, okay, let's just talk. There's an earpiece at the phone, so means the hardware is already there. You just need to use it as the second speaker. So I don't see why Huawei didn't do that. Everyone else is doing it. And secondly, that iPhone 10ish design, like I said, it's good, but the bezels on this thing are larger than they need to be. If you're going to copy a certain design, at least pick the best parts. So the bezel at top is still quite significant, but the chin, my god, the chin is so huge they could actually fit the Huawei logo underneath on it. I wish that Huawei actually went with full display, if I may say, just as we see it on the iPhone 10, and then we would actually appreciate the copycat nature of this device. And well, yeah, aside from those two issues, everything else is pretty straightforward. It's pretty good. This phone is really nice. It's actually, according to me, the best mid-range device that you can get at that price point. At $320, this is a goal. Like seriously, I don't see why you would not buy this phone, unless you absolutely hate that design, because that is one thing that you cannot change. Well, that is it. Until next time, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the Huawei P20 Lite. Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you have one? Are you planning to get one? And I will see you guys next time. Remember to subscribe and share. I will appreciate that. Kwaheri.